All right, people, we're doing one quick one. I just need one quick fix before going into Christmas Eve dinner. My wife joked that the chat was saying I'm addicted to making videos. I'm not addicted to making videos. I'm addicted to spreading the truth. I'm joking. I might be addicted to making videos. Here's a quick one. By the way, do not judge for what's in the backdrop. This is my mother-in-law's studio. So don't look for symbolism or symbology in this thing right here. The eye right there. My mother is somewhere in the back there. Right there. That's my mother. Don't look for anything symbolic in the background. It's just my mother-in-law's studio, and it's kind of amazing. All right, quick one. Just to recap, because last week was all about the Colorado steaming pile of judicial dog poop court ruling. Someone's coming. I'm in trouble. The steaming pile of judicial dog poop court ruling, 4-3 in blue Democrat Colorado, where you had 4 judges finding a creative way to exclude Trump from the primary ballot, but staying their decision pending adjudication by the Supreme Court. And you had 3 of those Democrat judges nonetheless sticking it to the other 4, saying, I've never seen anything like this in my 30 plus years on the bench. This is not justice. This is not anything other than partisan political hackery. Okay, fine. Colorado set the precedent. Who's the next most communist state in the United States of America? Commie California. So you go from Commie Colorado to Commie California, and now you got the lieutenant general, the attorney, I don't know what the position is, in Commie California saying, well, Colorado did it. We got to go get Trump off the ballot in California, as if it makes a difference. My goodness. If they're doing it, though, and I'm thinking out loud in real time, if they're thinking it's necessary to get Trump off the primary ballot in California, do they possibly think there's a risk of California going Republican in 2024? I don't even think we're there yet. I don't think it's that much of a risk at all, if any. But maybe someone does, because you don't do things if they're not necessary to preserve against potential risks. California is now saying, well, Colorado did it. We got to get Trump off the ballot in California. We'll see where that goes. But that's not the big news of the week. My prediction is that the Supreme Court is going to shut this down the way it deserves to be shut down. Those 4 majority judges out of Colorado, they're going to live in shame for the rest of their lives. That's not the big news. The big news is that out of the D.C. case, remember the D.C. indictment, what in front of Judge Chutkan, it's so hard to keep track of all their names. Jack Smith brought the indictment against Trump in front of Judge Chutkan in D.C. And Trump, in that case, raised the argument of presidential immunity, being I'm immune as president for acts I carry out in my capacity as president. Jack Smith is going after the indictment for this is not the insurrection one. This is the, oh my goodness, coming out of D.C. I forget the basis of that particular trial right now because I'm getting confused between the confidential documents. This is the January 6th events coming out of D.C. Jack Smith is saying in his request to expedite this case to the Supreme Court, because you'll recall, Jack Smith recently filed a motion to expedite Trump's presidential immunity claims to the Supreme Court to bypass the D.C. Court of Appeal. And Jack Smith's framing of the question of law is, hackery at best, disingenuous at best, or an outright lie for the media at worst. Jack Smith frames the question that the Supreme Court is going to have to answer as to whether or not Trump has presidential immunity for committing crimes. You've sort of baked the cake there already when you say, does Trump have presidential immunity for committing crimes? That's not the legal question. The legal question is whether or not Trump has immunity for acts conducted in his role as president. The obvious analogy that I brought up during the stream today, the Christmas Eve special, is hypothetically Donald Trump sells crack cocaine to Hunter Biden. And he then says, well, I'm just acting as a president. It's not a crime. It's my presidential functions immunity me. No. Selling crack to Hunter Biden would never be within the purview of presidential conduct. But I don't know, making sure that elections run with integrity, that they're not stolen by forces beyond the control of the president. That is arguably, but not so arguably, objective presidential conduct. So committing an outright crime is not what's at issue here. Whether or not the conduct at issue is a crime is at issue here. And so Jack Smith frames it as Trump sold crack to Hunter Biden. He committed a crime. Does he get presidential immunity for that? When the real question is, Trump was trying to make sure that the election was not stolen, not fortified, not interfered with. Is that a presidential function? Jack Smith petitioned the court because he realized he's not going to get heard before Judge Chutkan, because once you challenge presidential immunity, there's like an automatic stay at the lower level, so it has to get adjudicated upon before Chutkan and the lower court can even adjudicate on this. So it's like, holy crap, we need to make sure this trial happens as per the scheduled trial date, which is the day before Super Tuesday. Hashtag no election interference, but wait for the punchline of this entire video. They are election interfering in real time and basically saying it out loud. Jack Smith says, we've got that trial date scheduled. I know the Supreme Court has to adjudicate on the presidential immunity argument before the court even has jurisdiction to hear on this. So let's make a motion to expedite this before the Supreme Court. A lot of people out there were saying Jack Smith is a legal genius. He's playing 4D chess. He knows what he's doing. This is a loss for Trump. Other people, my partner in law crime, Robert Barnes, is like, no, Jack Smith is not a legal genius. He's a legal buffoon. That's why he's being used as the attack dog of the deep state, whoever is giving him his orders. He screwed up. He didn't understand this was going to happen. He didn't budget the time accordingly, and now it's coming to bite him in the butt. And so he's panicking, saying, please, Supreme Court, please hear this on an expedited basis so that we can adjudicate on this question of immunity, so that we can have our March, whatever it is, the day before Super Tuesday trial. Hashtag totally, we're not election interferencing, but we are. So he does that. And people are saying, oh, goodness, this is going to be bad for Trump, I guess, in some way, because Jack Smith is a super devil. And Barnes is like, no, this is a mistake. It's a misstep. Jack Smith is panicking. And now, this is my insight in all of this, it's a win-win for Trump, because either Jack Smith succeeds on expediting this to the Supreme Court, who will presumably rule on this properly, or the Supreme Court will say, we're not hearing this on an expedited basis. Go through the D.C. Court of Appeal, as you should, as per the proper procedure, and we'll hear it later. So Jack Smith makes the motion for an expedited trial. Trump opposes it. Trump now says, no, I don't want to go right to the Supreme Court. I don't want a quick answer on this. I want the D.C. Court of Appeals to adjudicate on this, for the obvious reason of the longer this goes on, the better it is for Trump, one way or the other. I mean, it's just strategizing in law. If it goes through the D.C. Court of Appeal, they take a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long to adjudicate upon it. It goes to the Supreme Court anyhow. And then they don't have their trial before Super Tuesday. They don't have their trial possibly even before November 2024 election day. And by the way, my prediction is they were never going to have this before the election regardless. So whatever. So Jack Smith says expedited proceedings to the Supreme Court. Trump files a motion, says, no, slow it down. Take a deep breath, Jack Smith. I know you want to get there, but you'll have to wait your day. There's nothing exceptional about this other than the fact that Jack Smith really wants to interfere with elections. I mean, whatever. And the Supreme Court adjudicated upon this Friday when I was traveling, so I missed the entire thing. And they said, no, we're not hearing this on an expedited basis. You go to the D.C. Court of Appeals, Jack Smith, see what they say. Trump had argued, look, this is such a novel case, such a novel theory. Never has a president been indicted. Never has the question of presidential immunity been adjudicated upon. Even the Supreme Court of the United States of America, the Supreme Court of these United States of America, is within its rights to see how the lower courts adjudicate upon this. I don't know exactly what the motivation of the reasoning was, but the Supreme Court says we're not hearing it on an expedited basis. Go through the Court of Appeals. Do it quickly, I guess. The D.C. Court of Appeals has already said, we'll do this on an expedited basis, so we'll make it happen quick. Real quick like. We'll make it happen so that you can hopefully get your conviction, Jack Smith, before Election Day, so that you can interfere with elections and make the decision for the American people that you don't want the American people to make because you're fearful of the decision that they will make. So that's what's going to happen. I'm watching MSNBC. I forget which propagandist news network it is. I'll play the clip at the end of this video as I publish this while going for Christmas dinner. MSNBC, whoever it was, comes out and says exactly what they're doing in real time. They talk about the delays, what the court said, and how this might interfere with the election. No shiat Sherlock. This was all and only about election interference. When they accused Trump of being the tyrant who will never relinquish power once he's attained it, and yet he gets the power, relinquishes it on the required date, gets booted from social media. I've never seen a tyrant that gives up power, gets booted from social media, that is still deemed to be a tyrant. They are so convinced that Trump is a tyrant and that if he ever seizes power again, he'll never relinquish it, that they need to keep his name off the ballot so that he never attains power ever again. He's the one that's involved with election interference, collusion with Russia, yada, yada, yada. And meanwhile, this tyrant, they need to keep his name off the ballot. When they say he's the tyrant, if he ever gets power, he's never going to relinquish it. It's exactly what they're doing right now. Biden is in power. Biden is fearful of Trump. Keep his name off the ballot. Indict, indict, indict. What do we got now? We got Alvin Bragg, New York hush money payment. You got Leticia James, New York, alleged fraudulent overvaluation of his assets. You got D.C. Jan 6 stuff. You got Florida. What is that? That's the confidential, privileged documents that NARA, whatever the NARA stands for, that he took. Privileged documents, confidential documents. You got Georgia indictment with Fannie Willis. You got Colorado, get him off the ballot. You got Minnesota, get him off the ballot. You got, who else? Michigan, get him off the ballot. Now you're going to have California, get him off the ballot. Yeah, Trump is the one who, once he attains power, will never give it up and will never relinquish the power, even though he gave it up, got banned, all that other stuff. Now that the Democrats, capital D Democrats, are in power, they got to make sure that they don't even leave it up to the American people to make the decision. That's where it's at. Jack Smith is a buffoon, rabid dog of the deep state. He screwed up. He's not a genius. This trial is never going to be heard before the election. The election will be the trial. And that's why the members of the jury, and that is the 350 legal documented American citizens, they can't all vote. But you know what I mean. That's where the people have to vote properly. The election is the trial. The deep state uni party knows that. And that's why they do not want to let that jury have its way in this trial. Ow, son of a bee sting. This is my grandmother-in-law, Chubby Cheek Edna. My mother-in-law painted this, and it's beautiful. Totally random distraction, but that's where we're at. So that's the news of the day. And now I'm going to go. I think there's a roast in the oven. It's Christmas Eve. I've been staring at this martini and haven't been able to have it yet. Delicious. Ungava. Not the best gin on the earth, but decent nonetheless. That's where it's at. 2024. We're going to have streams before the New Year's. 2024 is going to be 2016 on crack and 2020 on crack and steroids. Out of this world. Revolutionary. Eye-opening. And let's see what it has to offer for us. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year in advance, but I'll get you before then. And now, you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah. Oh, my hair is so greasy.
All right, let's get to that breaking news, everybody. We have got this. It's from the Supreme Court, where special counsel Jack Smith's request to immediately settle Donald Trump's immunity claim in the election interference probe, it has been denied, essentially shuttling that which Jack Smith wanted, the fast track, if you will, to decide presidential immunity. Donald Trump, of course, has asked the Supreme Court to take this case up as well. So there's a lot to get to right now because the interpretation of this could greatly sideline upcoming cases and potentially affect the 2024 election. Joining us now, we have NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian, and back with us, former U.S. Attorney and MSNBC legal analyst Barbara McQuaid. Okay, let's go first to you, Barbara. What's your interpretation of this? How much does this set back Jack Smith?
Yeah, this is definitely a setback for Jack Smith, who had hoped to leapfrog the Court of Appeals and go straight to the Supreme Court. Instead, he will have to first litigate this matter in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, in the meantime, since he filed this request with the Supreme Court, the D.C. Circuit has said they would hear the question on an expedited basis. They have set oral argument in the case for January 9th. If they decide fairly quickly, then we could be back at the Supreme Court maybe within a month or so, if the court acts quickly. Or it could be that they take their time and we don't decide the case until June, in which case the trial will be delayed by that amount. So I think the March 4th trial date, either way you slice it, is in some trouble now. That doesn't mean it can't be tried before the election, but I think we're looking more at a summer trial instead of a spring trial.
Which potentially affects the election, Barbara. I mean, how long would a trial like this take?
I have assumed it would take about 2 months. There are, 5 different schemes here, each of which would probably take the government a week to try, give the defense a couple of weeks for their case, and then maybe a week for closing arguments and deliberations. So I think at the closest 8 weeks. But you're right. I mean, the primaries will have been settled likely by June. The conventions will be beginning in August. And so this would have to occur kind of simultaneously with a lot of campaign activity.